Fantastic. Just a moment. Fantastic. Good evening. Welcome to Medical Mondays with Dr. O. Another beautiful day, another beautiful Monday. I am Toyin Okpesomi. I'm a family practitioner, HIV specialist, and I treat substance use disorder in Maryland. I'm excited tonight to bring, once again, one of our own, Dr. Udim Isang, who is highly dedicated and also happens to be a unique individual who founded Sunny Therapeutics with a deeply personal and inspiring mission. Her journey in the predominantly white female-dominated field of physical therapy served as the catalyst for the creation of Sunny Therapeutics. The endeavor was inspired by her father, affectionately referred to as Sunny or Sunny. Sunny Therapeutics stands out by offering a holistic and intuitive approach to delivering care. The core philosophy of this organization revolves around the use of traditional medicine. Traditional medicine encompasses a wide range of knowledge, skills, and practices rooted in the beliefs, theories, and experiences of various cultures. The purpose is to maintain health, prevent illness, diagnose, improve, or treat physical and mental conditions. Dr. Isang specializes in assessing and treating the physical manifestations of trauma that result from emotional, mental, and spiritual challenges. She employs divine alignments and taps into ancestral healing gift to facilitate the healing process of others. Through her unique approach, she empowers individuals to heal themselves and return to a state of wholeness. Dr. Isang's work at Sunny Therapeutics reflects a commitment to a comprehensive and culturally informed approach to healthcare, emphasizing the importance of addressing not just physical, but also emotional and spiritual aspects of well-being. Her dedication to helping others heal is commendable and aligns with the principles of traditional medicine and holistic healing practices. So, tonight, pardon me, I'm trying to expand this screen. Tonight, we have the pleasure of bringing Dr. Isang here. When I met her, she just threw a card at me, elegantly walked out of the room and handed me a card. I was a speaker at the Nigerian Center event when she did that. And I looked at the card and saw that she's a doctor of physical therapy, but underneath it, it says Nigerian Healer. And that's, spurred my curiosity to, contact her to learn more. So without much ado, I'm going to hand over to Dr. Udim Isang. The floor is yours. Kindly unmute and welcome to Medical Mondays with Dr. O.
Thank you. I'm so, I feel so blessed and privileged to be here. You telling your story, it sounds crazy now that I've replayed in my head about how we met. Like you were the presenter and then I just walked up and handed you my card. I was like, okay, I feel like I'm supposed to give it to her. So here you go. But that's how I've been moving. I feel like this last year and a half of my life, like I've literally just been listening to the little whispers and the calls on my heart, and following clues. It feels like I feel like Sherlock Holmes like every day. And that's how I ended up there with you at the Nigerian Center. Some things that, show up, be present, listen to what is being told, Because I'm passionate about just the connections, like you were saying, between connecting America and Nigeria, just connect America and the continent in general. Because that's been a big part of my healing journey, is finding, is melding those parts of myself. So this is all connected to how I started Sunny Therapeutics, is my healing journey. Because I never felt like I fit in growing up, like not just like, you know, every kid, everyone's different, but like I was like, I think I'm a little odd, you know, and I didn't have the language back then. And then, okay, I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to put a disclaimer. So my story, my healing journey, what I'm about to talk about, there may be triggers for some folks. There will be talk about racial trauma, about ancestral familial trauma, about, you know, injustices in the world, may be spoken tonight. So I just want to name that so that you can do what you need to do to prepare yourself. If you need to log off, you can do that and come back. But the road to get here was not an easy one for me. And so I do not want to do injustice of not telling my story, because I feel like a lot of people walk around, you know, hiding who they are, right? Not feeling that they can share and come from a place of vulnerability and honesty and transparency. And that's honestly how the trauma gets built up in our bodies, right? Is those moments where someone says, you know, you can't be all that you are. You can't shine or be as loud as you want to be, right? Because other people are watching, you know. You can't wear those scrubs or have your hair like that because it's too big, it's too loud. And then we hold that in. So I've been a physical therapist in the field for almost 10 years now. And, you know, I realized very, very recently, I was like, we are kind of like almost the last line of defense. Like, it's like, you tried everything else. You didn't really necessarily take care of yourself. You may not have known how to take care of yourself. And then you go to the primary care physician, and then they refer you out to physical therapy. And then if physical therapy doesn't work, then you have surgery. I was like, wow, I am like the end of the road. And I don't really like it here, because I kept seeing the same patients over and over, and the same disorders and same illnesses. And I was like, this is not good. But like, I just saw you 3 months ago. Why are you back in the hospital? And it made me question why I got into physical therapy in the first place. It made me start to ponder on my journey to getting there, because I am a creative. I'm an artist. Well, we're all artists, right? We come from the number one artist. But like when I was younger, I remember I was like, I'm going to be an artist, and I'm going to teach art, or I'm going to do all of these things that were not related to physical therapy or healthcare. I wanted to be far, far away from that, because my mom was a nurse, and I saw her at work and I was like, nah, this ain't for me. I was like, I want to be as far away from nursing as I can. And, you know, it was my upbringing and the stories that were told to my parents and my parents' parents, that you had to have a certain job to be successful. You had to look a certain way to be successful. You had to move in a certain way. And anything outside of that could kill you. Right. So this is the things that I carried with me, that I internalized for a very, 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 very long time. And so for me, I was like, well, can't be an artist. Got to do in the medical field. But, you know, my dad had a PhD in communications, and my mom was a nurse. So I was like, all right, let me just combine the two. I want to do something in that realm, right? And I love the body. I love human anatomy. I did track and field as a dancer. So I was like, I want to be something around there. And so my mom to this day claims that she's the one that told me about physical therapy. That's her story. We have different stories. But for me, what I remember is that it was a day in high school, and there was an athletic trainer that came and spoke to us. And he just kept talking about physical therapy. And I was confused, because like, you said you're an athletic trainer, but you keep praising physical therapy. So this must be a profession that I must learn more about. And so I started doing my research and went to orientation. I was like, all right, bet. Gonna go join physical therapy. It's gonna be amazing. And so that was like the track that I had, through high school, through very dedicated, through college, went to Howard University, HU. If there's any other alumni in the group, say hello, drop a heart in the comment section. But that's where I went because I was daddy's little girl, and my dad got his PhD from Howard. And so I wanted to really kind of meld the two of, the two professions from the best people that I know, right? My mom and my dad. But like I said, it was not an easy road because, in school, they tell you have to wake up at this time and take this class and do these things and pass and da-da-da-da-da. So it was rough. It was honestly rough. And then when I got there, I was like, oh, it's not what I expected. Not even just like what the expansiveness of physical therapy, because we treat everything. There's different specialties from aquatic therapy, pediatrics, inpatient rehab, outpatient, working with school systems, working in the jail systems. Like literally we touch and do and can do so many things I don't think people know. And I didn't even know until I was in school. I was like, oh, I can do whatever I want. And I get to spend time with the patients, right? Because for me, when I go to the doctor's office, doctor as in physician's office, I spend 5 seconds with them and then they're like running out the room. But as a physical therapist, I get to spend like 30 to sometimes 3 hours with the patients a day. And that's beautiful. Like for me, but then they tell me their whole life story and then I have to, fix my face. But because I'm not just a physical therapist, I'm also a nurse. I'm also a psychologist. I'm also the one that's running in between to go get their meals, to make sure that they're eating up. It's a profession that I don't think a lot of people truly understand what we do. And I was naive because I thought going into that it would be some wonderful, glorious job. I'm like, and I'm a doctor and I can da 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 da. But then I realized that because of this, I was looked at different, or I wasn't treated the same. And so not only having to deal with like being all of the things and getting paid not what a surgeon or a physician gets paid. My average salary for a physical therapist is $65,000 to $90,000. I got school loans more than that. Right. Like, so I was like, that's not it. Right. I'm working like a dog, can't pay my school fees, got patients yelling at me, being called CNAs. I'm like, I'm a whole doctor. Like, can someone like, hi, but I think 10 years in the field, I've maybe been called Dr. Udim Isang maybe 10 times. 10 times. I worked hard for that doctorate. Yeah, there was sleepless nights. There was not spending time with my family. I lost friends. I gained 120 pounds twice. Like I graduated from PT school. I saw my body, saw my pictures, and I was like, who is that person? Because I had to hold it together. I held all of the trauma of doing the things I was not used to and holding in my emotions and not having a healthy way to exert it. And that looked like being 300 pounds and not recognizing myself when I graduated. And I was like, oh no, I have to make a change. Like I legit, like I can't call myself a physical therapist if I look like this. Once again, the stories that the world told me, So fast forward to 5 plus 6 years in the field. And I was like, I can't do what I need to do. The patients aren't getting better. I need to find a way to figure out how to do this, right? And so I left my first job that I was at for a very, very long time. And I was bouncing around from other hospitals, other outpatient. I was like, I gotta learn. I love learning. But all of the places were the same. Even though the facility was different, the location was different. Like, it didn't seem like the patients were getting better, that they were priority, and that I was priority, because I was just told I had to work like a workhorse and I had to see 15 patients a day, or 15-minute break to go pee and eat my lunch was too much. And I was exhausted. I was burnt out. And I was so grateful. Today, I am grateful for the lockdown, for the pandemic, because I had 2 whole weeks off from work. as an essential employee, I was like, are we gonna shut down? Are we gonna I was an outpatient at the time, and I was like praying. I was like, okay, God, I don't want COVID, but I would like some time off. I would, it's mandatory because I don't know what I'm doing. And those were the most glorious 2 weeks I ever had. Like, I got to eat whenever I wanted to. I got to sleep. I got to work out. Oh, the sleep. I got to walk outside. It was beautiful. I was like, how can I have this and do what I love? Because I love being a physical therapist at the same time. How can I like have that balance? And it was a culmination of deaths of family members and a traumatic accident that happened to me that really woke me up to the importance of taking care of myself and self-care and mental health, the things that were not highlighted in my family. Being an immigrant Nigerian person, I had to hide a lot of parts of myself because, you know, my parents did a lot to get me to America. They sacrificed a lot. I acknowledge that. And I am truly grateful because, you know, I got 2 passports. So when this world, this America inevitably does what it does, I got another place to go to. Like, okay, I'm privileged. I am, you know, but 7-year-old Udim and 13-year-old Udim and 16-year-old Udim, when they wanted, you know, to express themselves, or they wanted to tell, you know, their parents and their brothers and sisters that they love different, that they see different, that when they hear music, they have visions, that there's tingling in my hand and I can feel what the body feels from another, right? But we were on survival mode. A lot of families are on survival mode. And so, you know, when I came home and I told my mom I was sad, she was, you know, rightfully sad for what? Got food on the table, you got a roof over your head. What do you have to be sad about? And so those moments and all the moments after it, where I couldn't name my emotion, or I couldn't, you know, said that I was different, I held it in. In psychology, you call it it's an enduring or a rigid pattern. We just take everything. I'm a people pleaser, I'm a giver, and I was just holding so much. And it wasn't until, like I said, you know, family member after family member dropping after flies and a traumatic accident for me, where I got to the lowest of the low, I thought. But in fact, I woke up. I said, I'm going to say yes to therapy. And through that, I realized that I hadn't grieved any single person that I've lost since my dad passed in 2010. Not a one. Not true grief. Not true grieving, because I had to pick my head up and, you know, put my jacket on and go to work and smile, and can't afford, you get 3 days off for bereavement, 3. So if it doesn't fit into that nice little bubble, what? But through taking care of myself, through my healing journey, through getting back to who Udim truly is, I realized that I was called to do something better and greater on this earth. I was called to find a way to truly, you know, help my clients get better. And I realized that the thing was missing is that we only focus on, in physical therapy, specifically in all of healthcare, right, on one aspect at a time, whether that's your physical, whether that's your mental, you're not even spiritual, and spiritual wasn't even there, right? There's no, unless you're dying, that's when the chaplain comes to see you. Like it is, or you can try to commit suicide, that's when they come to see you, right? It didn't make sense to me. And so back to healing journey, back to tapping into where I'm from. Because growing up, I didn't know my dad's side of the family. And I started to learn more about them, with the most recent loss, my grandmother, she transitioned. And I learned so much about her during her celebration of life when I went to Nigeria. And it was beautiful. I was like, oh my goodness, this is my family. Like, we're amazing. Like, what work for who? I'm not working for anybody ever again. Like, what? Like, my healing abilities come from my dad. Like, my intellect comes from my mom. Like, I'm a powerhouse. And I can't work for any organization that doesn't value and see me, and right, that doesn't prioritize the people, that doesn't integrate mind, body, and spirit. And so, in short, that is how I got to where I am right now, into starting Sunny Therapeutics, a place where there is hopefully more integration of the mind, of the body, and the spirit. Because when you hold your emotions in, when you don't have a spiritual practice, whatever that may look like, that manifests into trauma, which then lies in the body, which then causes diseases and disorders. And then you come to physical therapy. And then if we don't work, then you get your leg chopped off. That's not a system. That's not a line of defense that I like, right? I'm for prevention. I'm for fixing and curing, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's why I was put on this earth. And so that is the brainchild, the birth, the short version of how I got to where I am with Sunny Therapeutics and what I do. I am a physical therapist. Yes, you're going to come to me with knee pain and ankle pain and back pain. And I'm going to tell you, it's not that. I'm going to tell you that's what it is right now, physically in your body. And then we're going to talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to lay my hands on you. And I'm going to do what God, the gift that God gave me. And we're going to process it out. Because the physical is not the true disorder. And we need to be able to piece those together, because then you won't need those unnecessary surgeries. And then you won't need those synthetic drugs. And then you'll be able to sleep better and eat better, and go back to doing that you've always wanted to do. You'll be clear. You won't be working for someone for a job that you hate. You won't be snapping and yelling at your friends and your family randomly, because you're hurt. You'll be moving from a place of love and authenticity. Like, when you don't hold that trauma anymore, like, you're light. I feel light starting my journey. I feel so much lighter, and I just want to spread that love to everyone else. So that's me.
Thank you so much. Mr. Enada, kindly unmute. It was at the meeting, a fellow speaker, when we met. Remember each other? He was the one who sat next to me and actually showed your card to him. I don't think he remembered. I don't know to mute when he's able to do that. Thank you so very much for sharing that, for sharing your journey from doctor of physical therapy. You are still doctor of physical therapy, to incorporating Nigerian healing. I want to learn more about that personally. But before then, Dr. Ogunleye asked the question in the chat box. She said, if you were to narrow it down, can you pinpoint what part of the job you love the most and wouldn't mind doing, even for 16 hours a day with just enough time to sleep? And she further says she means the part that doesn't even feel like a job. Great question.
Wonderful question. Let me take some time to process, because it's the setting, where you work, who you work for, and the energy around you. If I could rewind time and I ended up in a hospital or something where, you know, you could have full lunch breaks. If you could say, hey, I have to go to the bathroom, and you wouldn't be looked at crazy. If people weren't walking around stressed and high strung and productivity driven, if you could breathe a little better, you know, wherever it is, hospital, whatever otherwise. I, you know, primarily hospital-based physical therapist, did work at outpatient, and now have my own outpatient practice, but I would still do the same thing. I would keep being a physical therapist, which I am, but I need the settings to change. You know, I need the priorities to look different. And a lot of times, like when you're in these big hospital systems, it's very productivity driven and it's all about the money. Like capitalism drives a lot of what healthcare is, unfortunately. But that's what I've seen in my 10 years. Like, it's not the patient, it's how much you can make from the patient. Like, yes, continue to eat cheeseburgers because you hate your job and you're mad at your mom and you can't afford a mental health therapist. And so, you know, you do all these things that cause you hypertension. Keep doing that so then I can continue to prescribe you hypertension drugs. You know, like it's a win-win, honestly, for a healthcare system. And I just can't be in that anymore. And so when you say, you know, the part that doesn't feel like a job, it's just now that it doesn't feel like a job because I know why I'm here on this earth, and B, I know how to do it, what to do. I can't see quite yet the magnitude of where I'm supposed to be in 10 years, but I feel that like every day is like every time I come in and I sit with the client and they're on my table and they're talking and, you know, they tell me that, you know, they slept well for the first time in 3 weeks, or, you know, they got their appetite back, or they didn't have to have surgery. Like, I'll do that 24 hours a day if I could. I mean, I'd be off for the next 3 weeks, but I would do it, you know? So yeah, that's a wonderful question. It's just,
Yes, it's a deep question. And guess
yeah,
what?
it's very
I'm excited
difficult.
because Dr. Gulaye, who asked the question, has a hand raised. So kindly unmute. Thank you. And shoot.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I'm happy to be on this platform today. It just popped up on my phone and I was like, oh, okay, let me just join. And then you were in the middle of talking about your trauma when I joined.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
Thank you. And the reason that I asked the question was because a lot of us, me in particular, I've experienced it. I started out as a psychologist as well. And I remember volunteering for the Department of Behavioral Health. And I was assigned some clients and I will talk to them. And for some reason, even though I was still in training, I could see what the problem was. I could see that it was dissociation from their community, that they needed support systems. They needed what we Africans call village. And so my prescription, my treatment for them was, well, let's wake up your village, get to be part of a village. But my supervisor didn't want to hear that. She said, this is the method that's in the books and we have to stick to it and everything. And I was bogged down with a lot of paperwork. And that was when I said, this field is not for me. And I went into education. And in education, I enjoyed it for about 20 years until everything changed and everything became so politicized, like you were saying. It's all about money, money, paperwork. And 2 years ago, I decided, you know what, I've had enough of this. So that was the reason why I asked you if you were to pinpoint, because if I were to pinpoint, it's the actual teaching for me, you know, teaching of people who really wanted to learn, who wanted to make change in their lives, not all the, you know, behavior problems that comes with teaching. I taught at the high school level and university level. And at the university level, it became, can I get an A? Can I get an A? Even if they're not working for it. So it made me feel like teaching is not for me, but it really is for me. It's other things surrounding it that made me now hate the profession.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that question.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I was thinking back to like one of my like favorite sessions as a PT. It was one, not even favorite, because it was very sad, but like that's when one of the sessions where I realized I was like, oh man, like not only I am more like I am more like my father than I thought, right? Because it was a session, a patient come in and they had an MS flare up, and I come into the room and I'm like, okay, they know what MS is. So I walk in the room, because obviously they had a flare up, right? And they've had this diagnosis. I sit for 45 out of the 60 minutes going through the different types of multiple sclerosis. Patient didn't even know, or the family, the diagnosis that they had. They're in full flare up, full legs gave out, trying to go up the steps. And I was like, you're kidding me, right? Like, you're kidding me. But when I walked out the room, like the smiles on their faces of just knowing that they're going to be okay. It's controllable. I educated them on different places that they could go. Like the feeling of safety that they felt that they were going to be okay. I was like, oh yeah, I could do this forever. Let me start looking up other schools so I can be a professor. Like, that's literally what I did. And I thought, like, earlier I had the realization, I was mad at my first job because it wasn't even a year out of PT school when I got a student. And I was like, why are you making me have a student? I am still a student. Like, I just got out of school. I know nothing. But I knew more than them, right? I had something to offer, right? I could educate and tell them the lay of the lands and what I learned. And that's when it hit me that, like, every day I get to wake up and be a new person. I get to be a new person. I get to have new experiences, and I can help the person behind me with that. And so that was kind of like the catalyst for me also going back to school to get my doctorate in education, which I'm completing currently. Because I love teaching, I love giving back, I love educating people, because education is one of the first lines of defense. Like, you have to know before, so you can do better. If you don't know better, you can't do better. So yeah, excellent question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And, thank you, Dr. Gule. She tuned in all the way from California. And we have people on the platform from London. I just got a text from our own sister from London. So we have people from all over. Dr. Jagbe, you have your hand raised. Kindly. Yes, go ahead.
I am muted. Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Udim Isang, right?
Isang.
Isang?
Isang.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you so much for making yourself very vulnerable to share with us. Going through pain of trauma is not an easy thing to express for many people. But, you made yourself very vulnerable. And by sharing some of those things, I could actually still bring some deep emotions to the surface. But I'm very glad that you were able to walk through this because many times, I've gone through physical therapy after an accident, and I realized that not, just getting the physical manipulations of the, of the bones and the muscles and the ligaments, they have their function, but the emotional trauma within actually make those kind of treatments very less effective than they should have been. So, when you share this, you can imagine if a therapist himself or herself is going through some emotional issues, how are they going to be able to truly help the people that they are trying to help? So I I want to applaud you for, your journey. And I wanted to say that it's been, a breath of fresh air to hear somebody who's supposed to be a therapist share how they get out of pain. The thing I want to also share with us is that there's something about perfect self-expression. Most people never knew there's anything so-called because, see, like you rightly said, it was somebody telling you, you're very good in school, you're very good in math, maybe you should be an engineer. You're very good in this, maybe you should be a very, should be somebody who does construction. And then they give you ideas, but not necessarily knowing exactly what you want. And that is where the light goes off for many people. Once they are forced into a mold, they go through the mold, but they never are happy. One of the things that we are all, we are here to do is to pursue happiness. That is all we are looking for. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how many degrees you have. I don't care how many things you have to show physically or materially. Without the aspect of happiness, being part of it or being major part of it, it's all useless. So I think the perfect self-expression is moving us or should move us in the area of true happiness. If we cannot accomplish that, or if we cannot attain that, I don't care how much accomplishments elsewhere that we have, is going to be basically meaningless. Thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Jagbi. Joy. I agree with you. It's very important that, we are happy and we are seeking happiness. However, I want to say that joy that surpasses all understanding actually even tops that. And one can only get that through Christ. My opinion. So, Miss Sabrina Hypnotica. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
Fantastic.
Absolutely did, and I thank you.
Thank you.
I do actually have a question for Dr. Isang, and my question is, I am a certified life coach, certified hypnotist, and so when I connect with people, I coach first. And one of the things that I ask is, where are you winning and what is it costing? And I would like to ask that to Dr. Isang. Can you tell me of a moment of triumph for you in this journey, and then a place where you have had to pay a cost to be this incarnation of yourself?
I don't like you. I love your question, but I don't like you. That was a very pointed question. I appreciate it. So if you give me a couple minutes to just, So ask the question one more time now that I'm in a place better place to receive it, please.
Okay. All right. My question is, can you tell us a place, a moment of winning in your journey, a place where you felt triumphant? And can you also share a cost that has come from being this version of yourself? And is this your truest, best, and highest version of yourself?
I think I'm getting to the truest and the highest version of myself. It is the most high, for sure. I was disassociated for 30 plus years of my life, and seemingly I was walking around and people thought I was okay. I was not okay, because I was not myself. I was smiling and going to school and getting degrees and doing all these things. I was not here. I was not here. I went to a place far, far away where it felt safer than being on the planet or being, in spaces that I was told I couldn't be my whole self. So on this journey, I've been able to find my whole self. I've been able to get to know, what 10-year-old Udim wanted to do after, she had a good meal, or, or what 25-year-old Udim does on a Saturday when she doesn't have to work. I've been getting to know the different parts of myself. And so that has been the most glorious and the most beautiful part of this journey. But the cost has been sitting in the sadness and the grief that I've held on to for a long, long time. We don't grieve enough as humans. And people think that oh, someone dies, you grieve. No. We hold the smallest things in, right? I wanted to go to the gym, but because I overslept, because I stayed up doing my documentation the night before, right? And now I couldn't go to the gym. So now I'm mad at work, right? What I should have done, right? Or I know now is grieve the fact that I didn't get to go to the gym, grieve the fact that, I didn't get to do what I wanted to do because of a job that caused me to work more than I should be, right? Because if we think like that, then we can pinpoint, oh, I'm not a terrible person. Oh, it's not, yes, I missed the gym, but the reason why I missed ultimately was because I was doing something I had no business doing. Why am I working till 11 p.m.? Why am I working so long? I'm forgetting to eat and sleep and call my family and do something for me. That is unacceptable. And because of that, right, then I could not go to the gym. Then I snapped at my client or my patient or my classmate or my family member. And then the cycle continues. So
it's medicine. And this is medicine. When we work, my residency was 3 days straight when we're on call. But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you check, you will see that the profession that commits suicide the most is medicine. Did you know that? And the top 3 specialists that commit suicide in medicine are psychiatrists, anesthesiologists, and community doctors. Now, in your journey, I know that Mr. Stephen raised his hand and I should have called him before I asked, but I couldn't hold it. Have you in your journey considered suicide at any point? We having too many suicides. Please, everybody on the forum today, we need to come together as a village and stop this. We have a 19-year-old Nigerian girl who committed suicide last Monday. The only child of her parents who they waited 15 years to have. We have a 43-year-old Nigerian who committed suicide in Baltimore about 2 months ago. I woke up to a text yesterday of somebody I know very well who committed suicide on Labor Day. I was just told yesterday. There are also others who have suicidal ideations in our communities. Are we paying attention? I was listening to you and I'm hearing everybody's looking at me and they think I'm okay. What are we missing? Could we have saved any of those who have actually committed suicide? We have Dr. Wale Akose last week, who could have committed suicide, who could have been gone now. Thank God that he decided to stop and call me to let me know. Have you, in your journey, thought of suicide?
Okay.
And
I'm gonna
if you have, how did you handle it? And what could have been done to help you then? I'm sorry, series of
No,
questions.
you're okay. I'm smiling because this takes me back to childhood. Like I was like, Nigerians, we don't care. Like we're the most bluntest people ever. Like we'll just ask a question. Cause I'm like, that's a pretty heavy question. And if I had not begun my healing journey,
I'm Nigerian.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm laughing. That's why I'm smiling. Like some people are probably like, what? That's a heavy question. Hey, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. Like the blood, like we run DS. So, but and then doing the work and being on my healing journey, and then also listening to Medical Monday from last week and knowing that was the topic. Like I understand where the question is coming from, but I just also want to hold space for people who may not be ready for this. So at any point in time, like I stated earlier, like if this is bringing up things for you that you're not ready to handle with, or you don't feel like you're in a safe space, please do what you need to do for yourself, because it's not this is not a light topic. So I'm going to answer Miss Sabrina's question first. So I was saying that, I get to learn about myself, but at the cost that it has, the cost has been relationships with friends and family. I'm not who they thought I was, or I'm not who I was before, right? I am saying no, right? And to them, all they hear is no, but the no to them is a yes to me. And if I am not good, they can't be good. That's the biggest takeaway that I've learned from this. Like if I, Udim Isang, and coming from a place of anger because I'm sad or because I'm grieving, and I still have to show up to work, or I still have to show up to a family function, yeah, I'm going to snap and I'm going to be uptight. I'm going to be hangry. Like you're not going to receive the best Udim. And so Udim is changing. Udim is evolving. Udim, is prioritizing yourself and saying, if I didn't get enough sleep, sorry, I can't come. Or no, I can't go to your function because I have to now, I get to learn all these things about business and, and I get to take these classes and courses. And that comes at a cost of being, who I was before. But to answer your question, who I was before was not healthy. Who I was before was not who God called me to be. Who I was before was not my authentic self. And I, for the first time, admitted that I even had those thoughts this year. Like this year. Like before, the traumatic accident that I had, I was working like a dog, coming home, sitting in my car, trying to get respite and a break before I had to go inside and be this dutiful daughter after I've just been, dealing with the racist white people at my job, and then I asked God, what was my purpose on the earth? Why am I here? Because this is ghetto. This is hard for no reason. Like I was 10 years old wanting to like grow up and be 18 so I can leave my house. And now I'm 30 something years old. And I'm like, nah, I really wish I could be 10 years old again because this is stupid. Like, why did I rush to become an adult when you lose yourself as an adult? Like, and I realized I asked myself that multiple times throughout my life. And not even just asked, but like by me not sleeping enough, you understand that that is suicidal ideation. By you not eating enough, do you understand that that is suicidal ideation? By you not doing the things that bring you joy, by you not being in community, you are killing yourself. And I am so grateful to be here right now. It is through me saying something is not right and waking up and starting and finding a therapist and, you know, finding community and friends, really naming the parts of myself. I told my mom for the first time I even had those types of thoughts when I was in Nigeria after burying my grandmother. I came out to my mom on Monday, my Nigerian mother. And I thought the world was going to end. I really, truly thought that I was going to die if I told her who I really was. And you know what she said to me? Because Nigerians, I feel like, are the best comics, the best comedians. Why must you label yourself? Okay. Because if I don't know myself, how can I express that to other people? How can I feel safe around other people? How can I find community so I am not lonely? So therefore I am not dying inside. That is why I label myself. That's why. So in short, to answer your question, Dr. O, yes. Yes, I have.
I'll tell you that I'm happy you're here. And I'm going to come back to you. Geez, I have questions, but I always do. I'm going to defer to, others because their questions are more important than mine. Even sorry that I interjected. I just had to ask that because we need to do something about this suicide epidemic. Brother Stephen Enada, kindly unmute. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Udim. It was a privilege while we were together some few weeks ago in Nigerian Center. So I saw you and I became jealous when you gave your card to Dr. O, and I was like, okay, maybe because I'm not a medical doctor, but that's it. But I have a confused identity because I dabble into a lot of feeds that I ought not to. Maybe I don't know the reason why. I'm talking from my theological background. Then my theological background gave way to my criminal justice background and all those stuff like that. But I will, you see, what I'm just thinking is I'm just going to make a comment, and for you, if you have anything to say to that or to counter my argument. I'm looking at all of these things as a result of when our beliefs are used against us. And when our beliefs are used against us, it could be spiritual, it could be medical, it could be psychological, it could be any. And then from my own perspective, from my theological understanding about who is a human being, I think a human being is a whole being, but with different backgrounds. So, and then we react to maybe financial exploitation, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and then using of fear to coerce us into following a particular belief. So isolating or threatening isolation, insulting or belittling other belief systems. And this is actually discrimination against gender, race, or sexuality. So this is seen from the prison of how to heal from these abuses, what has blocked our spirituality, what also, and then how do we recognize that even trauma has occurred in our lives. So then I look at also the angle, and if you look at what is happening in Nigeria, a boy, a promising young man, maybe died under mysterious circumstance that nobody has actually, they call him Mobad. I just try to look at it from every angle and begin to look at how a nation like Nigeria is unable to address that. So I look at it, how do we reprocess our experiences through therapy? That is, and then how do we grieve and accept that we have lost a team? So these are questions that I think therapists, medical doctors, psychologists need to actually come to grapple with. So how do we reclaim our values and beliefs? And this is actually done through a lot of reclaiming all of those things we think we are, has been stolen from us, all of those things we think we have lost. So I'm really like, I'm of the opinion that we need to combine all of these pieces together to be able to give birth to strong and viral humanity, because it's all about human flourishing. So that is just my comment or contribution and how you will react to that. But it was good to meet you last time, you understand. So I saw you. So, but again, I'm jealous. You have to send your card to Dr. O again to give it to me. Maybe I'll go to medical school also. Thank you.
You don't have to do that. I'll give you a card. No worries. For free.com, I'll give you a card. Don't go to medical school. No, I loved your comments and questions. Very poignant. I feel like we could be here for like 5 million more hours, because that's exactly it. And I think I talked to you. First of all, Dr. O mentioned at the very beginning that we are human. And the systems in place in America intentionally divide us, whether that's religion, whether that's healthcare. If you name any industry, everything is divided, but specifically since this is healthcare, like you have psychology, you have talk therapy, surgeons, all of these things are divided when, like you said, they should be together, because when we live this very human experience as on this earth, right, we need to be able to incorporate all of the aspects of us. That's our physical body, that's our brain, our mental body, and then our center channel, that's our spiritual body. And by dividing it, right, we stay divided. By dividing it, we are not honoring all of the parts of ourselves, and therefore we can't integrate. And so we're vulnerable. We're left vulnerable. We're left, we can be manipulated by different systems because we're not able to see, right, what they're doing to us, because we're not clear. Like, physical body is here, mental body is over there, spiritual body is somewhere over there, and none of those are here. And that's how they remain in power. That's how that's what control is, right? And so, when they say, oh yeah, you have this insurance, so you can only go to these providers, but none of these providers look like you, talk like you, know what's wrong with you. Like, you're never gonna be whole, you're never gonna be healthy. It doesn't make any sense logically for me. I'm like, this does not make any sense. Oh, okay, let's say since I was 300 pounds, right? When you go and you want to lose weight, and this is when I was piecing together. They send you, if you want insurance to pay for you to have weight loss surgery, you have to see a psychologist, you have to go to a primary care physician, you have to see a nutritionist, because they have to spend money. They want to ensure that you have all these components together. Make it make sense for me. So why does regular healthcare not require you to have all these 3 components? Oh, because they're paying. Because they're paying, then they're going to make sure that you're good and that you're not going to go back and gain the weight again. But why can't healthcare be like that? Why can't healthcare make sure that your mind is good, your spirit is good, and your physical is good? So that I don't have to say, I don't want y'all to keep coming back to my office. Honestly, like, get better and go do what you're supposed to do so we can make this world a better place. I should not keep seeing you every 3 months. And so colonization, right? Capitalism, these are all systems of control, including healthcare, set in, because it's a product of it, set in place so that we can't see, so that we can't be whole and healthy. So thank you for naming that. I could go on for like 10 more hours, but I won't because I'm hungry. Next.
Thank you so much. Excellent points you're making. But trust me, it's not all us, healthcare, because we do educate. Sometimes it's difficult to penetrate. And that's a huge reason why this platform exists, so that at least we can, educate each other to, prevent and to do the needful. For instance, we're talking about mental health. It's a very tough one for our community to even go to counseling, to go to therapy. You have our people, we have to get there to even accept that. So it's a journey. Mr. Chris Otaigwe, all the way from Nigeria, on mute, please.
Thank you very much for the privilege, Dr. Ro.
Are you going to show your face? Maybe not.
No, not
Okay. Go ahead.
yeah. Anyway, Dr. Udim, I must thank you. I must thank you for the way you spoke your mind and everything. It's like speaking to the reality. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You spoke to the poetic reality of our life, of the life of most of us, here and everywhere. That's what goes on every day, And, I read theater art, and while you were talking, I was looking at the storyline, how I write a play or a movie, blockbuster out of it. Where you have a young girl or a young man who has so many expectations to meet, in all the units that make up our existence, the family, the workplace, relationship, and all of that. And yet, try and see or she makes it still mixing up. And then you have the outer world there with the sun going on. So regularly, there's chaos, crisis, riot going on in our mind, and then there's that struggle, to shield that monstrosity going on in our heart from being seen by the next person, by the outside world. So there's that crisis. And in all of this, I'm now talking about the playwright, and I think, I see somebody who is lonely through all that sum of life. If at some point, as a playwright, I say, okay, let me put somebody beside her, to share that with her or him, it will kind of calm a bit of that sum. Where am I going with it? Do you see in the therapy, do you see the place of a relationship, the place of having, of love? Let me just be like a relationship. Do you see that as part of the solution? Or I don't know. I'm going to understand what I'm saying. Do you see the relationship, a steady relationship working here? Do you see the place of that? That's so
So I'm going to answer yes. I think I understand your question, but for me,
Can you ask the question, because it was not very clear before you answer it?
What?
No, it's all right.
What-
It's all right. No, it's all right. Let her verbalize what she understands, please, about the question, and then answer it. Thank you.
Yes, I think Chris is asking where does or if love fits in care in general. Is that did I sum that up?
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
You got it.
Thank you.
And for me, love has everything to do with it. It's like love is the answer. So like I said, me saying yes and starting my healing journey, that was me realizing that I did not love myself enough. I just like, I was like, oh, I didn't look, for me personally, right? I didn't look like a physical therapist, so I lost the weight, right? And so my healing journey was like, how can I call myself, once again, a physical therapist, a healer, when there's so many things that I haven't healed from. And so that started with a place of self-love. And then through loving myself, I was able to be more compassionate to myself. And then so when I see my clients or my friends or my family, I'm able to meet them with a place of empathy and compassion and love, because I see that like their triggers or maybe the things that they do that maybe, you know, they don't want to do or probably, you know, had a negative outcome is not them. That's their trauma, right? That's those parts of themselves that they didn't acknowledge, or those parts of themselves that, you know, they don't feel like those parts that they don't feel safe to come out. And so I see them for the human, not even for the human. I see the human because that's the experience, our physical body, our experience, all that trauma, you know, that we have sometimes. But I am able to see the soul, right? And I'm able to love that soul, like, because we're all souls walking around on this planet, living a very human experience. And because I know that that soul is also my soul, like we are from the same heart, from the same God. Yeah, I'm gonna love them like I love myself. And then I realized also, I was like, oh, sometimes I'm loving people more than I love myself. And so I was like, I need this to match. I need there to be some reciprocity. And so that's when I would, you know, I started to say no to other things and yes to me more. So like, yeah, that was an excellent question. Love is the answer for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Adeleye, are you still here? Dr. Adeleye, kindly unmute. Okay, Sister Lola, kindly unmute while you know, waiting for her. She had her hand raised.
Mm-hmm.
With technology, sometimes they drop. I think she's presently in Nigeria, and who knows what technology is like there. Just kindly unmute. Go ahead.
Oh, there's two of us.
Wait a minute.
Oh, there's two of you. Yep, technology.
I can wait. Or I
No,
can
go ahead.
I'll wait.
Please ask your question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't have a question, but I want to say, Dr. Udim, thank you
Yes,
so
I
much.
just unmuted. Can you hear?
Oh, I'll let her go first.
Okay.
There's
Okay,
two
go.
Lolas?
Okay. Go ahead. Sister Lola, Dr. Lola said she would allow you go first. So you can go first. Sister Lola AA, kindly unmute,
Oh, okay. You want me to go first?
please.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is the right forum for this, but I don't know who this can help because he has helped me a great deal. John, book of John, Bible says, John 14:26 says, I will send you the helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name. He will teach you all things. He bring to your remembrance all things and say to you, I leave you peace. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And what I wanted to add to that also, why did Jesus Christ tell us this? He said that he will send us somebody that will help us in our path, to aid us in whatever we are facing, who will be there for us, no matter what the circumstances. I mean, an evidence of that promise. I've faced so many challenges. I came to this country when I was a teenager. And now, looking back, sometimes I ask myself, how did I survive in this country? Especially when I got married. And the only way that I know that helped me was because of the Holy Spirit that was sent. Even up to this present moment, I know the devil lies, tells you do this to yourself, or you are the only one going through this or going through that. And at the same time, the Holy Spirit would minister to me instantly. I said, I shouldn't listen to that.
that he's with me always. So maybe, I don't know how we can instill that into our children also. I'm struggling with that with my children, but it's like they're not there yet. But it really helps in any situation, in any circumstances. We have a comforter. We have somebody that's closer to us than any friend, any doctor, any therapist. Thank you.
Thank you so much
It
for
meant a
sharing
lot.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're speaking to, I feel like I'm going to say that it's definitely to me, but I feel that there's other people in this room that are feeling what you're saying. But my healing journey is when I had spiritual experiences as a child. And then what year are we in? 2023. 2022, 2021, like I said, just going through life things. And when I asked the question of why I was here, God responded in a very dramatic way to let me know that I was supposed to be on this earth. And, I was raised in the church. Like my grandfather's grandfather were Lutheran pastors on my dad's side. And sometimes I was at the church 5 days a week. Sometimes it felt like growing up. And because I could see clearly at a young age, I could see that there were the things that didn't make sense, right? We had people on one end, pastors, mind you, saying that God is love, but then they went around talking about other people saying that, oh, but these ones are going to hell, right? Another system of control. Like that's religion, a lot of religions. And I rebuked that. I was like, nah, this is not for me. But I just went along with it. Once again, trying to fit into that mold, be the dutiful daughter and, do everything right. So I'm, just don't get in trouble. And so in the church, they talk about, I feel like not often in my church experience, Holy Spirit, right? And because they are too busy worshiping, this might be triggering, especially Nigerian people, worshiping this white man, this white Jesus, okay? We all have Christ consciousness within us. And I believe, right, that we are all on this earth and we are all capable of being like Christ. That's what that is. It's all within us, that Holy Spirit that we each and all have within us. And so instead of, instead of worshiping somebody else, right? Another system, capitalism, hell, whatever your God is, you need to be looking within and tapping into that thing that we are all in tune with. We all have spirit within us. We all have Christ consciousness, and all you need to do is listen, right? And it is the education system, it is the church, and the way things are taught that pulls people away from that. And so they can't truly see, and so it starts with us. It starts with you. So thank you for asking the question. Now that now you can tell your friend and your friend can tell their friend, and that we can all heal, tap into spirit and rule this world together and be whole together. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Lola, are you around?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for yielding. Thank you. God bless you. You have the floor. Dr. Lola, kindly unmute. You have the floor.
Dr. Adiyeye.
Just spoke.
Dr. Lola.
I just spoke.
Oh, you
There's
just
another
spoke.
one.
Yes, I'm back.
Ah.
There she is.
Yes, I just want to say thank you so much for having this forum, this conversation. It is very much needed in the healthcare space. Thank you, Dr. Udim, for being so transparent, so vulnerable on this platform. Like you guys were speaking earlier about mental health, it's a lot of things that we as individuals don't like to share. So the fact that you have been so transparent with us, just so we would know that we have someone we can relate to, or know that someone's been there, is we can't even take that for granted. So thank you so much for doing that. I might have missed this earlier because I came on a little later, but what are those ways that we can, as healthcare professionals, really balance? We're still working in the healthcare space. We're still working with certain communities that can really, for me, example, I work in with a lot of low income, and it takes a lot of education and things to just really make sure everyone knows what they need, and it can be draining sometimes. What are those things that we can do to help balance our regular lives, but also still have that passion and joy for helping others?
Excellent
question. Thank you.
Yeah. For me, it's been saying no. That is how I find balance. Because a lot of times, I think we touched on the right fear. We live in a fear-based society of like, if we say no, then we're gonna get fired. And if we get fired, then we can't pay our bills. And the cycle continues. And so I've just stopped being, I tried an experiment. I'm a scientist. I was like, let me just try this out. If I say, no, I can't come to your job at 8 o'clock, I can only come at 9, or no, I'm not going to see 7 patients a day, or no, I'm not going to work past, 5 o'clock, because that's what it clearly says in my contract, what is going to happen? And so, one of several things happen, nothing, and you get to have your evening back because the work never stops. They get upset and they may try to write you up or, whatever. And then extreme cases, right? Especially for people that look at us, they may try to fire us. But I see all of those as opportunities, right? The first one, opportunity to love yourself, nurture yourself, that in general saying no, that's what that is. And then if you fire me, right? I know in the moment, right? This sounds horrible. It's probably very, very terrifying. And I'm only saying this from a more healed part of myself. But like now I would see, okay, now I can apply for unemployment. Now I can find a job that's maybe more aligned with what it is that I love. Maybe now I can sleep and rest for a couple of days to be able to see clearly. Like for me, like that's also utilizing the system that we live in. We have the privilege of like, if you get fired in most places, you get unemployment if you qualify. So here I am, I'm going to apply because yes, I need rest. And yes, thank you. I'm going to get a better job that allows me to take care of myself, that prioritizes myself, So yeah, that's my answer. Dr. Lola would be saying no.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Lola. Chris, do you want to ask another question? Kindly unmute. Do you want to ask another question or your answer?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
You're going to ask the question, make it short. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, my time starts now. Now, mental health healing. From what you said, and I thank God also for the intervention of Dr. Lola, or I don't know who spoke before Dr. Lola, who brought in the religious aspect. In Nigeria, mental health is not so popular. So the only way people know how to identify with mental health is go to church, go and pray, go and let the pastor counsel you and all of those things. And so a lot of people go through that, whether it works for them or not. But personally, and from what you just validated right now, is that Jesus Christ is an idea. That's why Jesus said, if you call, not all those who call my name, will go to heaven or whatever. But Jesus Christ is an idea for love or whatever it is. I'm going with this. Because it's an idea, or anybody, you don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to go to church to connect to Jesus Christ, because it's love. That's your point. That's what I saw. So for you, mental health healing, which really, where is it more resonated? Where is the resonance there between science and spirituality? I hope you get the question.
Yes, I think I understand the question. I'm trying to tap back into the several books that I've read or have been reading lately.
While you're thinking of that, I will venture to say, and I must say this, that Jesus Christ is not an idea. Jesus Christ was real and is real. And
I agree with you.
it could be a conversation that if we need to converse more on it, this is a very important thing. We should, don't let's get that wrong, please. I appreciate the question, but I have to say that, you know, this is a matter of fact. Jesus Christ is real. So.
Very true.
Dr. Udim?
Sorry. Very, very true, Dr. O. And the Holy Spirit is alive. That's why I gave my own example of my life experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you. And thank you for, you know, the interjection too. Go ahead, please. Kindly answer Chris's question.
So it's funny. I do this on accident, but I'm gonna name that both you and Chris are saying the same things. And I'm also going to name that because we're human. We're not going to have the conversation. I don't want to have the conversation tonight, but this is me therapizing. This is me therapizing, right? Okay. Because we are human, and we are not the Almighty, the Creator who made this earth. We truly don't know what is what. And so nobody can go around and saying, honestly, what is fact and what is not fact. We should hold space for alternate perspectives and different ideological perspectives and beings. Otherwise, that is not love. That's not holding space in a container for someone to feel like they can express what it is that they need to express. So I just want to name that. I'm not going to continue talking about it because I don't want, you know, there to be a debate, an argument, and things like that. But to Chris's point in question, spirituality created science, is my belief, and through research, which I can show and send you. And it was, you know, these explorers or these people that came, for example, to the continent and saw that their ways of living were different, and somehow they were thriving and they were creating magic and they wanted it. And so they took our gifts, they took our knowledge, they took some of the things that we had and brought it back to these other countries and started to divide it into different classes. Into different systems, you know, that's why we have astronomy, we have psychology, we have all these different professions, but ultimately, you know, the source, the creation is once again from one God, one heart, right? They created all of these things so that we could do all of these things and have these different sciences, right? It had to be us knowing who we are internally and what our gift and our purpose in this earth was, to be able to go create and make a light bulb, to be able to send a ship to the moon, you know, like, so that's my belief. That's what I personally believe, is that science is the aftermath. And it's all very related. And the more integration, once again, needs to be had, but can't profit off of integration. That would make too much sense. But anyway, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you
for the question. And I have a question in the chat box. How did you know it was time to shift from your previous work to your own clinic? How did you process your trauma in a healthy way? I have questions that are private chatted to me.
Oh, okay. I was saying, I don't see that one.
Some people don't want the audience to, you know, it's private. People can, this is a comfort zone. And I will say on Medical Mondays, we don't argue. Everybody can speak their mind, and it's a respectable ground. And so we don't want, and we never would, shut anyone from stating their opinion, but we have to allow that. And so we will continue to respect that. It is not argument when we have differences.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the question again says, how did you know it was time to shift from your previous work to your own clinic? And how did you process your trauma in a healthy way?
So I knew it was time when because I utilize the enduring pattern and the rigid pattern, which is basically holding things in and internalizing things. Therefore, things have to get really, really bad in order for me to move. I knew it was time when I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. When when it took literally everything I had, unfortunately, to get up, when I was hitting my alarm like 16 times, right? When I was then making it to work, coming home, and then crashing. I didn't have the strength to eat, to go hang out with friends. That's because I'm extra and dramatic and I have to go all the way to the end, right? That's when I knew, unfortunately. And then when I keep hearing the same things, I kept going to different atmospheres, different organizations, and it was the same thing over and over again. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. And so I found a therapist, which was very, very hard. You would think that's a whole nother conversation, but the healthcare field and navigating that is not easy. I don't care. Me dealing with insurance and patients all day long, I myself had trouble navigating like the healthcare field and finding a good therapist. Finding a good doctor takes like months. And that's me. So imagine someone who does not have half the knowledge that I had. So I was privileged to be able to eventually, after over a year, found a therapist, started journaling, remembering that I'm a writer, and started to write down the things that brought me joy, and then try to implement it into my daily practice on a regular. Like, you are a dancer. Why have you stopped dancing? Okay, I'm going to dance and make it intentional to go and dance every day in my shower, or when I get off work, or in the middle of the street, or at Subway, dance all the time. And then also be in community and dancing, being with like-minded people who also enjoy those things. So dancing, poetry, what else do I like to do? Hiking, working out, like finding places and then making it mandatory. Like, my life now revolves around those items, not the other way around. Like, I have to make sure, like, I try to do that, so I'm like, today I've had to fit in like workouts throughout the day, but whatever you have to do, fit those things in, because those are your saving graces.
The question was thank you so much for answering that. But, the question was, how did you know it was time? Yes, you answered that. And then how did you process your trauma in a healthy way? I guess you've answered that in so many ways. It's saying no to what is not edifying and what will not profit you. Dr. Ogunleye actually wrote here, which I think is a good follow-up, that American work system is set up to squeeze the maximum out of laborers. And that's what we all are to the system. The more time you spend working, the less time you have protesting or getting fully involved in the democratic process. She made a good point. And Abby from London said, that is a very important question. A lot of people are going through a lot of issues that they mask, especially with Nigerians and Africans living as a closed society, meaning we do not discuss issues. Even when we talk about them, we still hide. So do not really heal. And suicidal thoughts are real. Even people with very close family ties and support do feel low to the point of committing suicide as a way of escape. Talking, though, is therapeutic and gets easier to talk about. The more one talks about the low moods, I guess, the better one gets. And, I agree totally with that. So Dr. Jagwe says, please share the role self-care and self-love in your evolutionary journey.
Yeah, I think I've
I think
spoken
you've
about it a
answered
few
that so
times.
many
Yeah.
times. They know.
But I do have another question.
I need to take that. I need to take that to heart to learn how to say no.
Know how to say no, but also to do the things that bring you joy. Like, you have to have something outside of not only your calling or the thing that makes you money. Like that is like what you're talking, true joy. Like, I just love when it rains and it's perfect temperature outside. I will go outside without an umbrella and I will just start dancing like I don't care who's watching. That
Oh my
brings
gosh,
me joy.
I love that. I do that.
Yeah.
Just watch the rain without an umbrella. Go
without an umbrella.
crazy in the rain, and
And it's those little things, right? That like, oh my God, like it makes the day just like not seem like it's dragging on. And, it just reminds you that you are human having this experience and you get to have the joys and the good in addition to the bad, Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have another question that I was direct message.
No,
Can I answer that?
I'm going to ask it. People who raise their hands have preference. So,
okay.
Sister Sabrina.
I can wait. I can wait for the instant message question.
No. Go ahead. Please ask your question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, thank you for answering the question about joy, because I certainly was going to ask you that. I absolutely was going to ask you, where do you find pockets of joy in the giving that you do? But I also understand that you are a Nigerian woman surrounded by a country full of non-Nigerians. Absolutely, you have a Nigerian community, but you are surrounded by a country full of non-Nigerians. And my question is, how, as a non-Nigerian, could I support you and your efforts to be fully seen as a Nigerian? Like, how could I advocate for you?
If I ask you before she answers that, where are you from?
I'm from Georgia. Well, okay, hold on. I live in Georgia.
Okay.
I am from New Jersey.
Fantastic. So what do you do for you? You said you're a psychologist?
I have a degree in psychology. I am a life coach and certified hypnotist.
Fantastic.
And I also have a long list of person-to-person helping mental health positions that I have done. I've advocated for mental health for a long time.
Thank you.
A long time.
That question so that our audience can understand why, you have that heart to reach out, because it's very easy for people to take. Most people want to take. You jumped up, you offering to give. So, Doc, thank you so much for that. Dr. Udim?
I think I'm going to need the question repeated. I was reading the questions in the comments.
Okay, no worries. My question is, as a non-Nigerian,
yes,
as I am, how can I support you? How can I support you as a Nigerian woman in this state of evolution? How could I, excuse me, as someone who claims to, at the very least, know your name and your claim to fame, offer my support to your evolution?
Okay, very good question. Excellent question. And I remembered what I wanted to speak on before, because you stated, you're Nigerian, so you have Nigerian community. You would assume so. So I want to, that's a whole nother topic about assumptions, because this past May, June, when I was in Nigeria, I did a lot of ancestral healing work. I had to forgive Mother Africa, specifically Nigeria, because between America and not being American enough, and Nigeria and not feeling Nigerian enough, I hated both places. You tell me I have to look like this and be like this to be this, and I have to look like this and be like this to be this. Where do I fit in? So I didn't have very many. Still to this day, I have less than 5 Nigerian friends I can count on my hand, close friends outside of my family, unfortunately, which I'm working to change. But and then that's because of my trauma. I can acknowledge that even up to this year, this year would be the first year where I say I actually truly have tribe and community that I can count on. And that's because of me, right? Because I didn't feel like I could share all of those parts of myself for fear that I would, be looked at weirdly. To this day, I do certain things that are just different, whether or not that's Nigerian or African. That's just Udim, and that's another thing, is the separation. So the way you can support me is, just supporting me as a human, and listening to the ways that I am, just to see me. And ultimately, I feel like that's all we want to be, is to all feel safe and to all to be seen, right? You would assume, right, because I'm this color, that I like fried chicken or watermelon, but that's false, right? You would assume because I'm Nigerian, I like spicy food. Also false. So assumptions can get us into trouble. And so the way you can support me is to just, not assume, to ask questions, to be curious, to get to know the person, me and anybody else that you come into contact with. I think as humans, we'll be better off that way if we are met with curiosity and just asking questions, So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Dr. Alu actually wrote here, and I think, it's just timely because it's been written for a while, that God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him or her. May God help us to enjoy this precious gift of love that is so scarce in our contemporary world. Because what you just said to Sister Sabrina is just love me.
Mm-hmm.
The way you can help me is love me. Listen to me. And thank you for that.
So what I got out of that was, okay, I'll be taking you around to the people that I know who are American and introducing you to them. And then if I happen to find Nigerian people that I actually know, yeah, you're going with me to meet them too. And then I take my ability to connect people, and you're just coming along with me.
Okay.
That's what I got. That's the message I got.
That's great. That's good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sister Rosemary, oh my gosh, I've been waiting. I thought you'll never raise your hand. Kindly unmute, please. Sister Rosemary is an amazing counselor, and that is highly respected. I respect her a lot. Yes, you are muted.
Good evening, everyone. Am I still muted? Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Udim. Thank you so much for such information that you have given to us today. May the Lord bless you richly. So I want to speak about, I think there was a lady that said something about her children also. Just like the Bible said that you have to remove the plank in your eye before you can see the speck in somebody else's eyes. So I truly believe that we parents are not, really do not prepare ourselves before becoming a parent, because a lot of us have been wounded from our youth, and we end up getting married to a wounded husband, and then end up having children, and then we end up transferring that wound into our children, and our children end up dealing with these things without even knowing where it's coming from. My point is, we talk about the kids. I can give you an example. When I had my daughter, when she turned 19, she was in college. For some reason, she decided to go the other way. Got on TV. I have already gotten permission from her to give her story to people, and she has turned her life around. And I'm a faith-based therapist, and I see 90% of my clients are young adults. So when they come to my office, they tell me their stories and everything. I meet them with love, because I've worked on my own issues. I've removed the plank in my eyes. So I am able to love whoever that comes into my office. I'm able to connect with them, be able to meet them where they are. I don't judge them. When they're telling me their stories, I'm just like looking at them. It's like, they want me to have some type of expressions, but I'm like, okay, so they get very, very comfortable with me because of the love that I show them. And I respect them, even with their stories and everything. So whereas I have my daughter in my house and I'm so hard on her, the expectations is so high, I'm driving her crazy. We're having issues at home, and I'm, dealing with these kids. So I had to do therapy on myself. And I said, you know what, Rosemary, why don't you start respecting your daughter and treating her the way you treat these kids that comes to your office? That was a game changer right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was a game changer right there. We started, she will go off and everything, but parents, please be ready to take insult from your children. Give them the space, let them be able to express themselves. So I did all that, and I thank God, the delay wasn't an issue. Some of the parents on the line right now, if you still have the chance to have your kids at home, please make amends. Please start developing relationship with them. In order for you to develop relationship with them, please avail yourself for counseling so that you can take care of your own issues, so that your own issues will not be on the way of you connecting with your children. You need to connect with these children, because once they step out of that house, that's it. They will not even answer your phone calls anymore. They will be dealing with their own hurts out there. Okay? Okay. That's it right there. So I have a fantastic relationship with my daughter. She got herself together. She's doing very, very well today. Thank God for that. I was able to do that. Okay, we're talking about love. What is love? Love. The very first commandment in the Bible says, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your being, with every fiber and every ounce of blood in your body. And then the second is like unto the first. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So you have to love yourself before you can be able to love your neighbor, because you cannot give out what you don't have. Do we truly love ourselves? What is love? Love suffereth long and is kind. In the midst of you suffering, can you still be kind to yourself and be kind to others? Love doesn't judge. It doesn't seek its own. It believes all things. It hopes all things. Can you continue to see your child, even if your child is misbehaving? Because I refused to see my child when she was going through that. I said, no, this is what God said you are. And I had that picture on my head, and I kept on saying it over and over and over, because faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. If you have faith, you become strong, no matter what the devil is trying to show to you. Stand still. After you have done all you can, stand. You got to stand. Okay? So stop comparing your children with other people's kids. Everybody have their time. They will get there. They will get there. Be patient with them. But the patience has to come, because love is patient and is kind. So you have to be patient and kind to yourself in order for you to be able to give that to somebody else. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You have to walk in the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is joy, peace, love, kindness, goodness, self-control, gentleness, meekness. Come on now. Let us put these things into practice. because that is what reality is all about. And then, sorry, I'm going back to the Bible. Philippians 4 verse 8 says, brethren, whatsoever is true, whatsoever is honest, whatsoever is just, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is of good report, if there's any praise, if there's any virtue, think on these things, and the peace of God which surpasses all understanding shall keep your hearts and your mind. Because if you think on anything other than that, you will be troubled. You know, guard your heart with all diligence in the Proverbs 4 verse 23, because out of it are issues of life. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. We are constantly thinking all the time. What are you thinking about? It's what you are going to bring about in your life. If you hate yourself, you are going to continue to hate yourself. So we have all been programmed right from when we were little. And when we grow up, it becomes like autopilot. That is what is piloting us today. So let us be diligent in wherever we are doing. Everybody should work on themselves so that you can find that peace, you can find that joy, you can be able to set boundaries. You know, you can be able to take care of yourself. When you're flying on the plane, when they're doing the safety measures, what did they say? Put on your own mask in case of emergency. Put on your own mask first before somebody else. You are deserving. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Let her to say no. And don't feel bad about it. Okay? I think that's all I have right now. And let her to love, you know, because, if Ephesians 4 verse 3 verse 20, you know, says, 14 says, you know, that you will be rooted and grounded in love so that you can be able to comprehend with all sense what is the depth and the height and the width and the length of love which surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. And he says, now unto him who is able to do exceeding and abundantly above all we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Each and every one of us have that power. Get in touch with that power. The only way you can get in touch with that power is through unconditional love, which people do not get to experience in their lives. I was fortunate to be raised, you know, but my father showed us what it's called love. I've never seen any human being that I cannot love. Because of that love, I'm able to connect with anybody. Someone asked me the other time, say, do you have, you know, what's the percentage of people that open up to you in your practice? I said, that's the easiest thing. I would say 95% of people that comes to my practice, they open up because they can see through me. Thank you. I don't want to take your time. God bless you.
Oh, glory. Hallelujah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Period.
Olani. Thank you. Sister Matilda, kindly unmute. And yes, you're muted. And thank you for the awesome program yesterday. Thank you for being obedient.
We thank God for that. So first, I apologize. I will not be in video. I'm not video ready, but I can talk. Yes. So my question is that a question to Dr. Udim. First of all, I like your name. Hopefully you are from Akwa Ibom or Cross River State. Then we will connect at a different level. But here's my question.
Sister.
Here's my question.
She's from Abeokuta. Don't try to claim her.
Exactly. Exactly.
You had a chance to lay claim and you didn't. So don't be mad at me.
It's from Abeokuta. Ask your question.
Okay. So anyway, I want to ask, please, Dr. Udim, help us. How can doctors help themselves by avoiding, I don't know whether avoid is the word, Christian doctors fall into the place of being consulted everywhere they go, in the store, grocery store, in the church, everywhere they go, somebody who sees them, recognizes them, is like, hey, oh, by the way, I have a headache. Yeah, I have a headache. I wanted to talk to you about that. How can they help themselves so they don't get worn out everywhere they go?
that I am still working on that within myself. I have the answer, but I'm so appreciative for you asking. My answer is going to be the same, which is saying no. It's setting healthy boundaries. I struggle with that on a daily basis. I have to be like even for my therapy sessions, like if someone will like a friend or a patient or someone will text me, I will be in my therapy session trying to answer it because I am a people pleaser and I want to make sure that they're good. But today, like I was like, okay, you're in this, you have these 2 hours for yourself. You know, this is your personal development. I turned my phone off. Like I've gotten real intimate with mute and do not disturb.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's because if you set the boundary, then you can also, you know, be held, you can hold yourself more accountable. So like I say, okay, I'm not going to take any clients from 9 to 12, and from 9 to 12, I'm going to the gym, I'm answering emails, I'm eating my breakfast, I'm doing all of these things. And when I notice that I don't do that, I'll nurture myself first. I'll say, okay, Udim, this is that part of you that wants to please. This is that part of you that wants to give more than what you have. And I'll sit with that. Because it's a daily practice and I've done it for all my life up until this point. So it's going to take more work, but the biggest thing, you know, is setting those boundaries. Because once you set them, then you can see them, like you can write them down, you can put them on your phone. Like I have do not disturb after a certain time. I don't answer emails. Even if you're family, you can't find me. You know where I live, it's an emergency. You can knock on my door. Otherwise, leave me alone. I want to watch Netflix. So I think that is the first step. Is acknowledging that, you know, maybe we're not taking the best care of myself. These are the ways I want to take care of myself. And then sticking to at least one thing, right? It doesn't have to be 2 hours because 2 hours, I don't even know how I got there. Maybe like 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, my phone is going off, the computer's being shut off. I'm listening to my favorite song and I'm going to meditation. I'm going to prayer. I'm going to dance in the rain, whatever that thing is, and sticking to it, and trying to be consistent.
Thank you very much. Abby from London said, how can doctors help themselves? Boundaries. They should have been taught that in medical school, she wrote. Anyways, my take on that, I don't think that would give me more than I can handle. But there's a question directed right at me over there. I think if I get to it, I'll be able to answer that better. Thank you so much for your answer. Madam CEO, you had your hand raised. Kindly ask your question. I saw that hand. She's driving, but I can see her. Madam CEO, Madam VP, are you there? So, there are more questions on the platform and I want to run through them really quickly because of time. We don't leave any stone unturned. So I'm going to just run through them quickly and I'll throw the ones that, you know, are yours to you to please, you know, answer them. But before I do that, I want to call on Dr. Izugu. Dr. Izugu is a cardiologist here in Maryland, one of our best at Johns Hopkins, also in private practice. So I just wanted to ask the question to comment on burnout, because what you've talked a lot about tonight is burnout, and ways to handle them despite financial burden, because it's in there, it's in the struggles, it's in the race. And I don't know, this is very unusual. I think, yeah, it's there. Dr. Izugu, can you comment on that for you in your practice as top-notch cardiologists who we call for everything? 2 days ago, I called you like, I don't know, was it like 8, 9 o'clock, you know, to consult on a patient. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Sorry, I'm not gonna be on video because
yeah, you're good.
But it's all good, yeah. And Dr. Udim, I really appreciate your presentation and really just being out there and really bringing it and making it raw so that all understand. in light of what you're talking about the amount of work on you and the burden on you and the just ability to even say no, because everybody wants every moment of your time. Sometimes, as I say, in this healthcare, it is a ministry, so that, people will come at you at any time, and then you thank God you are alive to be able to help. And the Holy Spirit is the one that gives you the strength to really go through all of this, and it just doesn't come in terms of just physical, demand on you. But also, there are financial issues that come along too with people. And so you find in many professions you have burnout that can come either because people want you to violate your ethics of standard of practice. And that can be a big problem because you don't want to violate that. So in cardiology for us, a patient can be having a heart attack anytime. You can sit down to eat food with your family and then you get a beep and you have to take off. But all in all, what is here is an issue of balance. I do believe strongly that a spiritual fortitude and balance on that really gives you all the energy to, handle other things. Without that foundation being solid, everything else becomes the body is really weak. But once the strength is there spiritually, and you can put all these things together and be able to enjoy every moment of what we consider work. It becomes a ministry. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And, in follow-up to that, in the chat box, thank you so much, Dr. Izugu, for that comment.
Thank you.
My brother is Ghanaian, and he wrote, I'm not Nigerian, but I too like to be blunt sometimes. And he's totally right about that. And I love him for that. He said, some of us are concerned about you, Dr. O. That's about me. We would like to know what you are doing for yourself. If everybody is calling you with their issues, who do you call with your issues? We should find you a therapist. And you know what? It sounds like a joking comment. It is not. I take that seriously and I appreciate it. I do have someone I call on. I call on the Lord God Almighty. He never would give me more than I can handle. And you're right that I need a therapist, but you don't need to find me one because I do have one, and she's actually on the forum tonight on the platform. She's on Medical Mondays every Monday. I do have a therapist. And I think, everybody should search themselves and see if they need one and get one. I have the best, I believe, around. Thank you so much for your concern and for your love. I appreciate that. So before I go on any further, I have questions. Remember, I told you I have a lot of questions, but some of them have been answered. People have asked them inadvertently, but I want to go back to this. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember you said we are blunt. No kidding. Everyone that knows me do know that I shoot straight. And I'm working on it, but I shoot straight. So you said last week you said you came out to your mom because she didn't know who you were.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that? Can you be clearer?
Yes. So I've been waiting for this. So my mom was getting ready for like a association conference that we're having coming up. Mbo Dito, I can't say it. I'm horrible. Not horrible. I'm practicing. Our conference, Kwibom State Conference Convention, and she wanted to support my business, and she wanted to put an ad in the program. And I sent her my website, and she was like, preparing for the conference, and she asked me a question. She's like, why did you put this line in your website? And I was like, what line? And she was having a hard time pronouncing the word. She's just trying to be funny. She knows how to say that word. And she was telling me that she was taking this class, she's a nurse, and they were talking, LGBTQ training. And I was like, yes, Ma. And she's like, the gays don't like that word queer. And I was like, okay. And at this point, I've just been living my life and just being what God has called me to and going along my healing journey. And, I knew that the time would come eventually to where I would have to admit to my mom, right, that I am that thing that one of those things, that she is afraid will make me less of a human because America and society says you are less than if you love differently, if you look differently. And so I was like, Mom, I'm queer. And she was like, why are you labeling yourself? And to me, I tried to come from a place of understanding because I was like, that's like saying, so I shouldn't walk around and tell people I'm Nigerian? Isn't that how I relate to people? Isn't that how I find tribe and community? Like, don't I have to name those parts of myself in order to find other like-minded individuals? And I realized, once again, that was the fear. People are killed daily for believing in Jesus Christ, for being gay, for looking a certain way. And my mom was afraid. My mom was terrified that the world will try to take her daughter out. And, for me, I'm like, Ma, the world hasn't taken me out thus far. I've been talked about by Nigerians, I've been talked about by Americans, I've been talked about by Black people, white people. Not everyone has to like you, and me understanding that I am love and God is love, and therefore I am perfect exactly the way God made me. Like, I had to come to grips with, to that myself before I was able to come to my mom and be like, this is me. Because I was terrified. I literally thought, I was like, this will be the end. My mom will no longer love me. And the world is going to end, right? I will be disowned from America. I will step on the plane. I will come off in Nigeria and they will behead me. Like, literally, I was like, the world is going to end. And there's so many of us walking around with that fear of being ourselves, because this world, this society has told us that we have to look a certain way and dress a certain way and talk a certain way and do business a certain way, for power, for control. We are afraid of the things that we don't understand. Every day I breathe and walk on this earth, I don't understand, though. The fact that I'm still alive, how the moon is so big and beautiful, right? How I could be of America and of Nigeria, There's so many things that I don't understand, and that doesn't make me, it just made me shut off parts of myself for a long, long time, but that shouldn't be, right? And I didn't learn that, I didn't know that until I started to heal. I started to understand, like, no, I am perfect. I am perfectly imperfect. God made me. Therefore, I am the way I am supposed to be. And just because you yourself don't understand your parts, right? Maybe you didn't think that you could. Maybe you didn't have that privilege to growing. You didn't think, your parents did the best that they could. That's all parents do. They do the best that they can with the information they had at the time. That's all I do. I show up as Udim the best as I can in one day, and the next day I get to die and be reborn as a new Udim because I learned the lessons from the previous day. That's what being human is. And so, on Monday, I was like, Mom, I'm different. Mom, I have dreams. I talk to the wind. I feel like I'm a human X-ray and I can feel trauma with my hands and I love everyone. That's what I told my mom on Monday. Yeah. And I am so grateful because I'm still here. The world didn't end. The only thing that died was my ego. There's truly devil, sin, all of that, that's ego. And I'm still alive.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. I still have a follow-up question, but Sister Lola raised her hand again. I think it's a new hand raise. Yes. Correct?
Yes. I don't know if any therapists on the platform can give us some knowledge concerning this. I'm thinking about cultural clashes within our children. At home, they were taught different way based on our culture or where we come from. Out there in school, at work, they're being taught or have to mingle with other kids from different culture or American culture. Sometimes these kids get caught up in the middle. Which one is right? They ask me to do this. My peers are doing the opposite. So when the therapist was talking earlier, she said something about we should be ready to take insult from our kids. Most of us, including me, are not ready to do that. Of course, it's not biblical, but the culture they are in says it's okay. So they get caught up in the middle. What do we do as a parent? Somebody can help me, please.
I think I might have missed that statement. I doubt if she will say take insults from your children. None of my children, and my youngest is 35, can insult me. I will not take it. They will not even insult me. Thank God they are godly men. I can say, you know, I can vouch for them that they will not insult me. Do they disagree with me? Every time, yes, we disagree, but we have conversations. It is not right. Take everything else off the table. It is not right for a child to disrespect or insult their parent. We just heard from Dr. Isang. She says she's queer, but she has not been able to tell her mother until this last Monday, exactly a week ago. From the account she gave, she was even petrified. She was petrified to have that conversation. And I guess that's where I'm going to leave that. It is not appropriate for a child to insult their parent, whichever way we look at it. I don't think we need counselors.
Sorry, it wasn't like that.
Okay.
Sometimes when the kids disagree with their parents, we call it insult. So that's what I meant by that. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's delivery, I think, that matters.
Yeah.
But no, that's why I said I didn't hear that because I know this counselor.
Yeah, we call it insult in Africa. So it's disagreements, different opinion. That's it.
Yeah, it's just taking things personally. That's, instead
you know
of hearing them.
That's the word. And you know what? I wish one of my children are on the platform. I wish one of them would speak up. I encourage them to disagree with me. They will, if they don't agree with me, I encourage them to have conversation. In fact, I'll be disappointed if they don't have the conversation. And that's, my parents gave me that, and I praise God for them. And I think, like our counselor Rosemary said earlier on, that it is important that we're listening to our children and having a relationship with them. In order to do that, you've got to allow them to express themselves. Absolutely. If you put them in a corner where they cannot express themselves to you, you're not going to have that relationship. You're not going to be able to help them when they need that assistance, and that time will come. And that's when we have to be careful, so we can quench these suicidal ideations, suicides, and all of that. A lot of it is because of that lack of relationship from the home, usually from the home. So we need to really be cognizant of that. We are in America, and this is our home now. I love scripture. If you look in the book of Psalms, it said, so that where you are, you got to find the good. You got to look for the good of that place where you are. And this is where we are. So while looking for the good of this place, we need to start from our homes and build our families. So I'm sorry that was misunderstood. I'm glad that she clarified that. And
very good. But on the cultural clashes, is there any teaching?
I don't know what you mean by cultural clashes. I think what you teach your child is what he will grow up to be. My home, for instance, I taught my children to greet me and to greet adults in the Nigerian way. Kneel down, prostrate, and they do it. My son was deployed, and when he came home and surprised me, what did he do? He greeted me the way he was taught. Because though he is grown, he did not depart from it. So the culture you teach your children is what they will grow up to live in.
Do you know why these kids harm themselves? Because they have been talking to their parents. They've been showing signs, but the parents are not listening. Let us try to listen, because in Africa, most people kids are being seen, not being heard. Let us try to hear these children. These are human beings. They are human beings. The reason why they shut their parents up is because they're like, you know what? That's okay. They don't get it. So let me just put an end to it so that, I won't be a burden to anybody anymore. Please, let us avoid that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Dr. Udim, this is your floor. You don't need to raise your hand. Go ahead.
I just didn't want you to to take another question before I responded.
Go ahead. Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
So I wanted to respond to what they were saying regarding the culture class and clash. I think some people call it, my Filipino friends call it sandwich generation. I've heard generation zero for the kids who are immigrants and come to America when they're early and they're stuck between two worlds, and they may be, raised in a Nigerian home and, at home, and then they are thrown out into the world and say, do everything that they're doing so that we can be successful and succeed, right? And so we're in this like limbo phase of trying to fit in, right? And so the things that we do at home don't necessarily translate to the things that we're taught or that when we go out into the world are acceptable, right? And so for me personally, I've been bullied, I've been made fun of, right? For doing the things that my mom, quote unquote, instilled in me and taught me. My mom, my parents, my family, right? They were only doing the best that they could in teaching me all that they knew, but that does not fit into every box. And assimilation is a real thing. And when you want your kid to assimilate, right? Like there's this part of you, I'm like hiding parts of myself. I'm like, oh no, okay, well, I have to change my clothes because my mom made goat the other night and I got made fun of the other day because I smell like goat. And therefore I have to sit at the table by myself, right? Or I'm taught to shut up and not talk and say anything when adults in the room. But when my feelings and my story matters, and that is something that I internalized and grew up. And that's why I was depressed for 30 years, right? I understand respect. I understand prostration. I understand, instilling what you were taught, but you got to understand that breeds more trauma. Because then if you go into a world where that thing is not respected and you do that thing, then you are the odd man out and you have no friends, you have no family, you have no community, right? And then you're like, why am I here? I think that's the cultural clash that she was speaking to. It's like, I tried to do the best that I could every day to fit into my family, to Nigerian culture and to American culture, but it's difficult because there's not spaces where both are held and two things can be the same at the same time. And so,
you know what?
My voice matters.
Yes.
My voice matters. And it's not just about accommodating, but it's about meeting your kid where they are, because with every generation we evolve. That's the whole point of being human and having this human experience is evolution, right? The next generation will always be better than the next on purpose, by design. That's God's design.
Yeah.
And if you can't see and hold space at the glory of God and witness, like, wow, like it took me 26 years to get a computer, and this person is 16, right? This person has a phone at 10, or this person knows how to use Instagram, and I don't even know how to open Zoom. Like, that's beautiful. Like, that's evolution. But if we don't allow ourselves to be curious and to just observe, like, we pass down that trauma to the next generation. And yeah, they're not going to want to wake up the next day because their mom or their dad or their uncles think less of them, or tell them to shut up when they're sad, or tell them that they, have no say in this room and you got to listen to adults and parents. But yeah, but it's both and, because we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
That's the human experience. That's evolution.
Whew, thank you. You are absolutely right. And Abby, my sister in London, and you know what? We of the same parents, but totally different. And I won't go into all of that tonight. This Abby, that I want to read what she wrote. And I want to say, though, from what you said, children are different. And as parents, we need to meet each child where they are. The experiences you described, if you have siblings, you'll be surprised that you may have siblings that have a totally different experience, even though you've been exposed to the same thing. So we need to, just be sensitive to our children as parents. Abby said, yes, but some of our children get overboard with expressing themselves to the point of rudeness, which is to an African parent an insult, however way you look at it. Sister Lamy said, some of us African parents are too rigid with our children. Sometimes it's not what our children say, it's how they say it or how it's perceived by us parents. We have a lot to learn in this parenting thing and how to, relate to our children. I would take it though, I would say any day, anytime, we need to give respect to our children, even though we are expecting respect back. That is something that may be culturally difficult for an African, but that needs to be worked on.
Yes.
Dr. Akitonde, kindly unmute and ask your question.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Dr. Udim, I just want to say a big thank you for your presentation tonight and for everyone with the comments. I think we have all learned a lot from each other. I don't think it's going to be a question anymore, just some comments, because when we roll over into parenting, I don't usually talk, and you do know me for that. Now, a question was asked about the suicide. I think that is getting a little bit high in our community, and I will say interventions will have to be like an ongoing thing. Couple of things have been said about how do we bring down the incidence of suicide in our community. Also, and we all sometimes may know that there's a tendency for us, for someone that actually have a mental issue, the easiest thing to cover up sometimes will be on the religion. So those are some things that I want to be on the lookout for. Religion is the easiest thing that anybody sometimes with a real mental issue will say yes. But the other question will be for our teenagers, the ones in the middle school, freshmen, sophomore, and all that, what are the real causes of the suicide? A lot have been said over here about some of these things. Back to parenting, and that's something for all of us. Anything a child said to us, maybe we want to start to be more accommodating, never get upset. Even if you perceive it initially as an insult, give it a thought and say, wait a minute, can we talk about it? Maybe from talking to that child, you can learn a lot. My son is 34, and I remember when he was about 16, I actually have to call the police myself. And the police guy was so good when he came in, it's like, oh, I'm used to this with you African parents. He was just talking back to you. And the police guy was so nice that I'm not going to record this call, but let me take him for a ride for you. For some reason, they end up to be friends. When my son graduated from his first degree, I saw this guy at the graduation, this police guy. They're still friends till today. What I'm trying to say to us is, because of our upbringing sometimes and our exposure, maybe our interaction with our children might be different. But I would like to say to every parent, and let's pass it on, as long as it's a child that's talking, maybe we need to want to be more accommodating. Just say, what are you trying to say? Our perception is entirely different, and whether we like it or not, there's a price we're going to pay for migrating. A girlfriend of mine have said that to me a couple of years, and she said, look, we're here. What can we do to make it better around here? She always say that to me. So I do understand, Dr. O, thank you so very much. And please let the interventions continue about this suicide. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. But I can't believe it. You called police on your son?
Yes, you can.
I have to, because this was in 1996? Because I think he called back to it was talking back to me. It was talking back to me. And you know, I'll say one thing to some of us. Anybody been here for over 36 years, 38 years, you know what it was. You were the first generation, you were doing your best, and you know all you had growing up in Nigeria. So your best was like, look, can I just give half of what was given to me to my children? So when they start behaving, you'll be like, look at me very well. 20,000 miles is what it took me to come to America. So just listen. And he appreciate everything today. Well, I mean, he's a computer engineer today, and he would say, oh, Mom, I just thought. And then again, somebody mentioned the clashes. They do go through clashes. The four corners of our house is another rule. As soon as they step out of your house in the morning, it's another rule. So they are battling between too many things as to who is what and what's what. Let me be quiet, Dr. O. I know that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for that. But I thank God for how it went and the police officer that came and the kind of person it was, because that could have gone another way. So thank God for that. Please, Dr. Akintunde is 100% on the money. But if you have any issues like that with a child, Medical Mondays with Dr. O is a resource. Please reach out.
Okay.
We have amazing, amazing counselors. And I know a particular counselor who will get into their car and drive over.
Awesome.
I'm not lying. Is that laughing right there? I'm putting her on the spot. Rosemary, she will.
Dr. O, please let me read this scripture. You know,
She will.
Who is that?
Rosemary.
Yes.
She's the one talking now.
2 Timothy verse 25. It says,
thank you.
In meekness, instructing those that support themselves, if God peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth, and they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil who have taken them captive by their own will. So in meekness, we have to correct people. They will hear it. There's one language that every human being understands, is the language of love and care. Every human being you see out there is crying for love. But are you hearing that person? Let's pay attention.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are you hearing that person? Because they will talk before they commit suicide. Please, are we here? Dr. Ajagbe, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. This has been a very robust, inter-exchange or, a dialogue among the participants on the platform today. We can't really, exhaust everything that needs to be talked about in one day or in one session. So we move from healing from trauma to parenting. And so parenting on its own, it's a big one. So we hear the the adage that says that parenting is the one that, doesn't come with owner's manual, that you really don't have anything to do other than to learn as you go along. Now, you may read so many books, but your experience will always be different. So each one of us who is a parent has a different family dynamics and scenario. Some people will insist, like Dr. O said, oh, you have to greet me exactly the way they do in Africa. Well, some families don't do that, but that does not engender disrespect. It just means everybody would have to master how they have, they're going to get the kind of communication that's needed between themselves and their children. One of the things I try to do, which is basically just comments, I'm not going to ask questions, but I just made it, I wanted people to know that if you don't know who you are, you will always be searching. So the first place to start is to try and spend time to know who you are. Not by profession, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a therapist. No, but who are you? Because that's what the whole world is really looking for. Somehow, when you find yourself, then you feel comfortable being you, not wanting to be somebody else. And that is what I taught my own children. You have to know who you are, and you must begin to love yourself just the way you are, not saying my brother does this, my sister does that, and I'm different, and so I'm going to be less than, human because I'm different from my sibling. No. Each parent will have to learn the language of love for their children. How does I would one's child recognize that you really love them? Do you have to verbalize it, or is it by your action? Yes, we can engender respect. We can get respect from children without becoming an enforcer or a tyrant. We can. We can make our relationships so healthy that even when they are in their late 30s and 40s, they're still looking for you. You're not the one begging to ask for them. You're not trying to look for them. They are the one initiating. Oh, when are you going to be home tonight? I want to come and hang out for the weekend. I want to come and just sit down and talk. So I think we can create such avenue in our homes. Regardless of the age of the children, we can start. When my children were about leaving college, I had to come to a point in my own heart that, okay, maybe I've not been a perfect parent. So I had to write them a love letter. Each one of them, I wrote them a love letter. I didn't write it as a collective. I wrote each person a love letter, and I asked them to look within themselves if there is anything I have done as a father that is, that leaves much to be desired, that they should find in their hearts to forgive me. They were all adults now. They're not teenagers. They're all adults because I want them to be able to think themselves and process that, the message, and then be able to respond to me voluntarily. It was not a demand. It was not a mandate. It was just a question of just asking them to look within themselves if there's any reason that they believe they have not met the standard that they expect for a father. And what I then did to finalize the letter was to tell them that I want to promise them that I will always love them, that they would do not need to think of earning my love, that I will always love them just because they are my children, that they don't have to earn my love. And so I released them from that kind of burden on the inside, like, oh, I have to meet my father's, standard of whatever. I already set the rules. I mean, the ground rules for them to be who they wish to be. And so learning how to become that became what they have to do personally, individually. So there's no more tension from that point on. And what I'm talking about now was about 18 years ago that I addressed each of them like that. And now we're still relating in a very healthy way. I don't have to look for them. They are constantly in touch. And that is the best part of it. And I'm so excited about that. So what I'm saying is, it's not about vaunting myself, but it's just to let us know that we don't have a cookie cutter for parenting. We do not have a mold that fits all. Everybody will have to navigate and say, like the adage says, choose your battles. You don't have to fight every time, every time somebody disagrees with you. So sometimes it might just be stooping to conquer. I mean, if you stoop down, you'll be like you are stupid, but in the end, you reap the harvest. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. That is so important because it's easy to say, oh, they're now grown. How do I reach them when I didn't do the right things when they were growing up? Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Ajagbe, because that is a way to bridge the gap. That is writing them, or maybe if I think writing is even better than what you did, because you can say everything on your mind without looking at what's the body language, what's this. As we were talking, I was following you and I'm like, wow, Tuchna, that's excellent. But I would say though, for me, I tell my children again, I'm glad that, they're on the platform. I love my children regardless of anything, but I tell them from when they were young, I will love you. That's unconditional, but I don't have to like you. Liking them is their behavior, their interaction, how we get along or not get along. I praise God today that I can say that I love my men and I like them. I love my men because they're now men. They're not, mine are not children anymore. They are men and I like them. So Dr. Ajagbe, I appreciate you because the love that a parent should have for a child should be unconditional. And if we can learn that, get that into our thick skulls as parents, I think we would achieve a lot. We would go a long ways. It would help us to put things in perspective. Udim, what do you think?
About the parental thing? Oh, I'm just over here daydreaming and like super grateful because I honestly, this whole evening thus far has been a trauma loop closure. Oh, because I did not think the openness and the receptiveness and the progressiveness from the voices of Nigerian people, the same people where I felt like I couldn't be myself around.
You were wrong. You didn't come.
God is good.
Oh, that's why.
Evolution, time, right? We've all been doing the work some way, and so I'm just, I'm in awe and I feel more empowered to just continue to speak my truth and be who I am because I know other people will resonate and I can be who I am fully and that they are Nigerians that think like me, believe in me, support me, will encourage me, and I'm not alone. Yeah, and speaking to the parental thing of just also meeting my mom where she is and my parents, well, my father transitioned in 2010, but just having the awareness that parents do the best that they could with the information that they had based on their condition, their trauma. And once again, going back to empathy and compassion, that, no, now when I hear something that, may go against or that may be triggering, right? Instead of looking at it as a trigger, I'm like, oh, this is highlighting not only the work that I need to do internally, but also the work that they need to do internally. So whenever I met with that, whether it's a parent, a friend, a random person, I'm like, why was I so upset? What about this situation or this thing, caused me to feel this way? And so once again, it just goes back to that self-love and understanding oneself, because if you don't understand, what it feels in your body when you're upset or when you're sad or you're happy or you're mad, you are going to be walking around this world aimlessly like I was for 30 years, disassociated. You're not going to know left from right. You will be an empty vessel. You will literally be a zombie. You will not be here, and we have to be present in who we are. We have to be present in our calling, be present, in what it is that we're supposed to do on this earth. But we have to know ourselves to do that. So, yeah.
So Abby wrote, talk therapy is not easy, but deeply healing. Well done, everyone. Is what she wrote. So I'm sorry if I missed your comment on Medical Mondays tonight. Some of them I felt like has been addressed one way or the other, but if I missed it, I'm sorry. We needed to have this conversation. We needed to talk. We needed to know where we are. We needed to know how to love regardless. And so this Medical Mondays with Dr. O tonight has been somewhat different. And last week was different too. And to update you on that, Dr. Wole Akpose is doing very well. We have a lot of things to walk through. We're still working on getting a permanent place for him. The issue of kidney transplant, I think we're going to need to put on back burner for a bit while we're praying that the Lord will give him longevity, to even revisit it. I want to thank everyone on this forum, and a lot of people have left because I can't believe it's almost 10 o'clock. When time flies when you're having fun, I want to say thank you to everyone who donated to his cause. We will list names. Donations are still coming in, believe it or not. We would list the names with, not names, but initials, because a lot of people want to donate privately. And that's another beauty of Medical Mondays. It's, I am so blessed that I have all this family here and we support each other so strongly. I will give you weekly update on Dr. Wole Akpose. If you want more, you want to connect with him personally, I know, please don't hesitate. I'll be glad to do that. Udim, I'd like you to put in the platform your information for people who have pain. Physical therapy. Physical therapy, as far as I knew it, what I thought is that it's exercise. You're hurting somewhere, you get manipulated this way and that way. You get to be taught the right exercises to do to resolve it. I have been a recipient of excellent physical therapy in the past, and that was what I limited it to. Tonight, believe it or not, I did not interview her on depth of what she does. I'm just like, Nigerian Healer. Okay. Even when I talk to her, I'm like, you're a Nigerian Healer. Ooh, okay. So tonight I learned more. I learned something that physical therapy is actually encompassing. It's whole body therapy. Is the mind, is the body, it's the emotion, it's medicine. And it is medicine. That's what I do in medicine. I have to treat the whole person. So thank you so much for that depth of, knowledge and information. Again, if you put your information in the chat box for people who may be in that need. And we didn't go in depth into what she does really in the healing and all process. People who have cancer and are going through chemo and have pain, from these things, and it's more than pain. There's the emotional pain. Now I get it. See, when we were talking before, I didn't get it. Now I get it, that the emotional and all of that, she's able to intervene and help find healing. So if you post that, then people can, contact you when they need your services and if they need it. And I see some more comments here. Excellent job, Dr. Isang. Thanks a lot for your inspiring story. Quite impactful. Can you please send us the account details, as I wasn't here last week? Oh, okay. So the account details is, if you go to www.nigeriancenter.org and you donate there, you will get an email immediately that will thank you for your donation. Respond to that email by emailing info@nigeriancenter.org. I'm going to put it in the chat box to say that this donation is for Dr. Wole Akose, or just for Wole. The donation is for Wole. You keep the letter for your tax deduction, because the gift is tax deductible since it goes to the Nigerian Center. And so for Nigerian Center to know it's for Wole, you then just forward that receipt, just hit forward and send the email. So I'm going to put it here. Okay. So while I do that, my dear, darling doctor, kindly give us your closing words, what you will leave with us to take with us. And I'll revert back to the forum in a minute.
So once again, I want to say how grateful I am for this platform. I think when I met you and we were speaking a little bit, I told you that I don't think you understood the weight and the importance of this, and that so many people could benefit from just the free knowledge and the community and the awareness of things. And so I'm grateful to be a part of it. My takeaway, or what I want, to leave with people, is to get to know yourself, like truly, like get to know all of those parts of yourself, whether they're parts that you don't like or you do like, because all of them are still a part of you, and all of them, came from a specific point in your life or situation that maybe you didn't deal with fully. Because the longer that we hold on to those things, life is going to continue to do life, and more will come up. And so we don't want to continue to add more trauma as we haven't dealt with past traumas. And by, sitting with those parts and identifying, who you are, what are those big moments in your life that you can remember that, you always kind of go back to, and are you fully whole and healed from it? And then if you're not, then reach out to a mental health provider, a friend, community, find a place where you can receive love and be seen and whole, because ultimately, that is where you can process better, is when you are safe, when you feel safe, whatever that looks like. So it's just, love yourself, because you can't love others if you don't. Yeah. And I love y'all. Thank you for holding space with me for the last 3 hours.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your openness. Thank you for the knowledge also you have imparted in us. Thank you, because we've made a dent into, especially in parenting, so we can prevent the suicidal things that happens later. There are lots of thank yous on the platform. Dr. Alu says, thanks a lot for your inspiring story, quite impactful. And now, excellent job. You see that you are reading.
Yeah.
You're reading faster than me. So people are appreciating the fact that you came to the platform and you are so open. Thank you. However, I want to shift gears a little bit. I'm being corrected. That's Dr. Veronica from California, reminding us that you should please register for our annual general meeting with NAPAC. You know, Medical Mondays family had asked that we meet in person. And I said then, actually, Mr. Okusanya interjected and said, we have the NAPAC general meeting coming up. So why don't we do that together and meet together? It is November 3rd and 4th. November 3rd, we're going on a cruise. Dr. V had posted it in the chat box. Just go to www.napacusa.org, napacusa.org, and you will see all the details there. On the 3rd, on Friday, we're going to go on a cruise in Baltimore, hang out, enjoy ourselves. And on Friday, the 4th, we're going to have the gala, where you will learn more about NAPAC. Lots of food. Oh my gosh, you'll be in for surprises at all would come. And guess what? New thing on the block, Dr. Ajagbe had volunteered to give free screenings. I mean, I'm talking $500 worth of screening to anyone who wants to be screened. The details we will put there on the website, you know, as soon as I'm able to, you know, get that to our fantastic IT guru, Charlie Busari. Once I'm able to do that, we will do that. So please go on the website, napacusa.org, and register so that we can hang out. We can actually see each other and feel each other and have a great time together, as we've been looking forward to doing. Somebody wrote here, please help the Nigerian Center. Might need to have an outgoing conversation /present on the prevention of suicide in our community. Okay, so we will do that. We need to do that. We need to do a focused conversation on the prevention of suicide in our community. We have the resources. We have amazing psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, and all of that. I'll reach out to them and I'll see how we can do that. This is a serious deal. We have to deal with it. And Dr. Udim, welcome to Medical Mondays with Dr. U. This is not your first one. I'm just saying welcome again because we start a subject and you know what? It will take us to where we need to go. You can see where we went to parenting. And it can be the root of these problems. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So thank you so much. Dr. Alu is thanking you, Dr. Jagbe, for all your unequal support. I second